Hi, everyone. It's Ellen. So glad to be back with you today for another episode of the Sales Team Power Lunch. And of course, I've got the guys here with me today, Daryl from Resource Management Solutions Group, and of course, Kareem Ayaj from Blue Rhino Sales Solutions, and just answering some of your most frequently asked questions. And this is one that I've heard throughout my career. I often ask it in interviews, or I get asked it, and that is, how do you identify, that perfect salesperson? What things do you look for in interviews?
That's for you, Daryl.
Yeah, I can.
Since you're the expert on that.
Yeah, I can jump in and kind of
Yeah.
lead off with this. Obviously, as a sales recruiter, there's a lot of things that I look for. But you know what? If you force me to pick three, there's three that always come up that I always are key to me. First off is competitive. I find the best salespeople are competitive by nature. They're competitive, outside of work. So like maybe they're involved in sports. They're just always, competitive in their personality. I find that's a really helpful in sales. Another part of it too, though, is they're analytical. A lot of people don't even pick up on that, but they're very analytical. That sort of belief that, I'm just good, I go with my gut. No, the best salespeople are very analytical. They look at they know their numbers. They look at them. They see the trends. They see where they need to improve. Those are like the best ones that really understand the data behind their career. And then, and finally, is this ability to tell good stories. I really, can relate. The best salespeople are good storytellers. When it comes to doing a presentation, they come up with great examples and great stories. When it comes to, what will the new system or process be like, they can tell the client or prospect through stories. I find that those 3 points really stand out for me, and I really, I get really excited when I meet individuals who tick off those boxes.
I completely agree. And, the great salespeople I've met would certainly tick all of those boxes. And I'm going to say for me, I look for resiliency. What's happened when you failed before? How quickly do you rebound? Have you encountered obstacles before, and what did you do to get past those? So Kareem, what have you seen? What characteristics have you seen in really great salespeople, in the superstars?
Yeah, I agree with you and Daryl, actually. And I think problem solving is a big attribute. Problem solving, because salespeople are always trying to figure out, how to position the deal for the client, and they are faced with lots of challenges. There is lots of either delay in decision making, or there is something changes with the client, competitors come in. So always you have to overthink, what can I do, what is the missing thing that I can come up with to make my deal even better. So that also, along with persistence, while working with SAP, I still remember the salespeople who were successful, they built a pipeline that's called it 5X. So what we need by 5X, so let's suppose your quota is million, the pipeline that you have to have is 5 million. Just because when you go down to closing deal, things might go sideways. So you would see the good salespeople are moving from, they understand the lay of the land and their territory. And once they see that their pipeline is thin, they go back to prospecting, or they go back to finding new deals, just because they know if they want to meet that target, the best way is to kind of create that 5X pipeline.
That's really wise. That's a really great idea for sure, because while we would like to see them all, turn into deals, we know that that's not realistic. So listen, do you think that, is it necessary for a salesperson, in your opinion, Daryl, Kareem, is it necessary for a salesperson to have high energy? Can you have a low energy salesperson?
Oh yeah, you can, actually, you can. We're big proponents of DISC. It's a personality profile. And each of the letters corresponds to a different trait. D is a driver, so that is like typically the CEOs. I's are the salespeople, typically, that's the influencers. S is support, and C is control for typically like accountants or engineers. Well, my rambling point though is does that mean that all salespeople have to be I's, the people-oriented and so forth? No, I've hired great salespeople that are like an S or a C, and they fit very well because they're very analytical. They're very measured in their responses. They're very diligent, and they when they go through the full sales cycle, the salespeople that they're meeting with, whether it be like an engineer or some or decision maker rather, they actually really relate with them really well, because they're very focused. They take them through the process. They understand. They listen. And they respond to their questions. It doesn't have to always be that rah 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 like me. Look, I'm breaking my. It doesn't always have to work that way.
Gotcha. So listen, Kareem, can a salesperson, we meet people who have very, very positive attitudes. We have people who have negative attitudes. Do you need a positive attitude to be successful in sales?
Absolutely. And I believe being positive and having high levels of energy is crucial and paramount to have as a salesperson, because there's lots of setbacks, there's lots of challenges, and if anything would put you in a negative mindset, then you don't have time. You cannot afford to stop there and not look for the next deal or next opportunity. So positivity and energy are very important for any salespeople, no matter how what's their personality like, no matter what kind of character they have.
Absolutely. And Daryl, you've kind of explained this already, but so what you're saying, as I understand it, is that you don't necessarily need to be a true extrovert to be successful in sales. You could fall somewhere on that ambivert or even into introvert kind of continuum, right?
Yes.
It's funny, yeah. I've read there's an interesting book called Sales Dogs by Blair Singer. It's very interesting. It talks about it put a kind of interesting spin and funny spin on that, on salespeople. He talks about for example, the poodle. The poodle loves socializing a lot. They love meeting with people, but they're not very good in closing deals. So for example, the pit bull is, he has a very, very painful bite, but at the same time you have to be careful around clients, because if he's very short fused and he doesn't have time. So I recommend this book. If I read it like a few years ago, but I always go back in my mind to it when I see salespeople and different personalities out there.
Oh, that's such a great book. Absolutely.
Sorry, I just want to add something as well to that. Sorry to cut you off there, but back to what you were saying, your point, Ellen, about an ambivert, right? I think that is so important, right? To be both extroverted and introverted, because a lot of times society thinks that salespeople are always and all are extroverts. And reality is, we're not, right? And all three of you, I think, can relate to this, right? In sales, and it actually will call upon you to be both, right? Because there's times where you have to be extroverted. You're at networking meetings, you're doing presentations, but there's times we have to be introverted. We're on the road, staying in a hotel by ourselves, right? Yeah. I'm having dinner by myself, getting ready for that presentation the next morning, right? You need to be both, right? You need to be comfortable being both. Right. So, and
really great.
Further to that, meeting both types of personalities, you need to be comfortable with both.
I'd like to add something to this too, that yes, I mean, if you look at sales as a social game, it's more attractive for extroverts. Although I agree with you that, they have to have some level of introvert in them, because that's when they have to go back and sit behind the scene or, behind their laptop and, look at their territory. And, but for the way I see it is, salespeople are mainly, for the most part, they have more extrovert in them than introvert, just because sales is a it's a social activity in a way that you have to be around people. You have to be, now inside sales is a different breed, but mainly for those people on the street, sales is kind of networking game, is a social game that if you really don't like being around the people, if you just like to be in behind the scenes, if you have more introvert in you, then probably sales is, you have to think twice about getting into sales.
Yeah, really great point. So listen, that leads me to the next question. And that's, when we look at our superstars, when we look at our absolute A players in our organizations or in anybody else's, do you think that those superstars, do you think that they are born that way? or can we actually take just about anybody and make them a sales superstar?
That's for you, Daryl.
It's both. It's nature and nurture, right? The best salespeople that I've encountered, they have personality traits that they were born with. They were just, they're like as Karim was saying, they're outgoing, they're extroverted, they're competitive, all right? But there's also that part of them that they were trained. They continuously work on their craft. They're continuously improving and like doing training and development, continuous improvement, etc. It's both, right? So with your question though, can we take someone and make anybody a salesperson? Yeah, you know what? I would say no. Right, they need to have some of the core skills. It's like an athlete, right? Can I make everybody a great tennis player? I can teach you a forehand, I can teach you a backhand, but you got to come with some of the skills too that were God given, right? And we need to recognize that. And then at the end, we might say, you know what? We've done 5 lessons. I think, Ellen, maybe we should try golf instead. Yeah. So there's going to be a point where
I like nature and nurture. That's a very nature and nurture. I like that. It's the first time I hear it, but I really like it. It resonates very well in that in that context.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think we've got to show up with some skills and some predilections and some, as you say, maybe a slightly more extroverted personality. And then you're right, we can be trained and we've been fortunate, I think all of us, to be trained by some of the masters. And so I think that we work on something that we come to this planet with, but then our skills are made stronger and better. And I'm going to say in my organizations, and at one point I had about 315 people working for me, mostly in sales capacities. The people who were the true superstars definitely had that combination. They had those innate skills, and then they had that great training as well. Yeah. So it makes complete sense to me. So listen, we're talking about the characteristics of salespeople, what makes them tick, whether you can make them, whether they're born that way. So listen, we are salespeople in our souls. I know that, the 3 of us here on the call today.
True.
Given our passion for it, is there ever a time where you've just considered walking away and doing something completely different that was not sales related? So Daryl, have you?
I thought about it yesterday. No, just kidding. For sure. You know what? And it's especially as a sales entrepreneur, right? Going through my business, there's been many times where like I failed or I lost a sale or something, and then that head trash comes in, and I just question it. And then you start looking at other people, especially those within a corporate environment. I'm like, oh, you know what? I would just like to just punch in and out 9 to 5, kind of, do some data entry, I'll be so stress-free. But then I reel myself back in, and kind of what you were saying, we were chatting about earlier, this is me. I love it. I know it's a cliche, but I'm passionate about sales. I just really love it. I love how we are there as problem solvers. We come there, to really help our clients. And I can't think of another profession. So have I thought about quitting it? Yes. It's just as great a profession as it is. It's probably the most difficult, right? But at the same time, it brings me back because it's so rewarding.
Yeah, it tests you on all levels, right? All those characteristics that we mentioned are so necessary. We're called on to use those characteristics every single day. For me, way back in the day, one of my very first mentors said, nothing happens until somebody sells something. Yes. And I thought, okay, there's a pivotal person in an organization or a team in an organization. I want to be that pivotal person or on that pivotal team, because I know that my skills, my abilities will always be valued. So I've got to say, salesperson in my core. Have I ever seriously considered doing anything else? Anything else that I've looked at, I always knew needed to have a sales component, because that old saying about, ABC, always be closing. I'm selling and closing every single minute of my life, no matter what I'm doing. So for me, even though I might have considered stepping away, it was never seriously, and it was nothing that I could ever have hoped to have done. So Kareem, how about you? Did you ever consider just kind of turning your back on the whole sales game?
It's funny, actually, you pop up this question, since it came to my mind a few days ago, and it came in the sense that I'm always wishing to have, a part-time sales job, even at any stage in my life. I like to have that. And that's where I'm thinking, I'm hearing more and more out there between millennials and something called the portfolio of jobs. And it came to me, if I want to create that portfolio of jobs in, as a coach, because right now, I'm practicing coaching, maybe consulting or what have you, something that I always like to have, piece of the pie to be sales. I'd like to sell something. And I'm not sure if this is something in my nature or because I love it, but to answer your question, I would not like to leave sales 100%. I would like to always have part of my, career, or if I want to say, if you want to name it, portfolio of jobs, I'd like part of it definitely to be sales.
Absolutely. I can totally relate to that. To me, I've got to say, if I'm away from a sales capacity, even on vacation, it does feel a little bit like a withdrawal symptom, where I want to start selling within my family just so I can sell something. I think, we love that we have that competitive nature. Sales meets that for us. We have that desire to want to do good for other people. Sales meets that requirement for us. So when we step away from those things that are so in sync with our character, no wonder we feel like something is missing. So
True.
listen, anything you would like to add before we wrap up the Sales Team Power Lunch episode?
I
Okay,
think
go
we've discussed many things. Beautiful. I love the topics today.
Yeah.
We have, me too. Well, we are also passionate about sales, right? So listen, once again, Daryl Dioso, Kareem Ayash, thank you so much for dropping in to another episode of the Sales Team Power Lunch.
Take care, guys.
Take care.